What up, world? Welcome back to another jam-packed episode of the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast. I am your host, Anthony Wright, coming to you from the beautiful and spring-like confines of Atlantic City, New Jersey. Wherever you may be watching or listening, I thank you as always. Like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel. This episode is episode 165, NFL post-draft news and notes. I'll also be recapping some of the schedule release information. So definitely to have you guys here with me as always, plugged in, like I said. And also too, definitely want to make sure that I'm giving some attention and shout out to this. Big news for the podcast, major news that just happened over the weekend. The podcast, the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast, now has a website. All you have to do now is log on to blunttalksports.net. Again, that's blunttalksports.net. You log on to that, you'll be able to log on to the website. You can become a subscribe. I have merchandise, other things that's coming to the website. Definitely want you guys to definitely check that out. So happy to get you guys to here. First and foremost, we're going to touch on a myriad of different topics. The first topic we're going to get into is Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers and what the fuck is going on with that situation. Needless to say, I've reported on this several episodes ago, right as the season ended. Aaron Rodgers was going to pretty much put the Steelers on a string and have them go through this merry-go-round again if and when they told him that, hey, listen, we want you back. Anybody with a brain knew. Aaron Rodgers, he had a decent year last year. They got to the playoffs, got destroyed in the first round, looked like complete, toxic fucking waste as far as an offense, completely inept. So again, you kind of thought like either he's going to retire, Mike Tomlin might come back, so Pittsburgh might want him back, or, he'll go elsewhere. Tomlin retires. Mike McCarthy's brought in. Obviously, we know the previous history with McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. Needless to say, we're under the assumption that everything is going well. But we've seen this time and time again to know that Aaron Rodgers operates to the beat of his own drum. He does not give a damn about a team schedule, when a team wants a deadline set for his answer or anything like that. It's just never been a priority for him from the times of Green Bay, learning from the great Brett Favre to now. It's just the way he's always carried it. He's always been a mysterious cloak and dagger type figure, Machiavellian type guy. So it doesn't really surprise me that he went about this. It's not that he actually, it's really Machiavellian type games if you think about it. It's not that he wants the attention. It's that he doesn't mind the attention, but he will mock and ridicule and attack you for noticing or bringing attention to what he's doing. It's very crazy. Very, very, very sociopathic when you think about it. But nonetheless, we're looking here via The Athletic, via Mike Silver, who always is dropping some great reports on The Athletic. He has an article here. Why are the Steelers waiting on Aaron Rodgers, and what other choice do they have? None is the answer. But diving into the article, as you guys will see here on the screen, Michael Silver says, after all the drama, all the drawn-out decisions and changes of heart and relentless speculation about his legendary quarterback's intentions, Mike McCarthy finally snapped. It happened at an afternoon practice at Clark Hinkle Field, where the Green Bay Packers were staging one of the NFL's most surreal training camps of the 21st century. I was among the thousands who witnessed that choppy, sloppy session back in August of 2008, part of a days-long summer of Favre sojourn that dominated my journalistic reality. So he's already tapping back into, you see where he's going with this. By the time I left Titletown, Brett Favre had been traded to the New York Jets along the Aaron Rodgers era, at least to proceed as planned. That resolution was a direct result of McCarthy's frustration and emotion enunciated by the third-year coach in a consequential team meeting that took place a few hours after the lousy practice that pushed him over the edge. So, Mike McCarthy has been a part of this, obviously, before, as previously mentioned, going through this with Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. And Mike Silver goes further in the article. And he talks about that time. He goes, 18 years later, McCarthy is a far more unflappable man. That's fortunate given his current situation, less than 4 months into his tenure as the Pittsburgh Steelers' fourth head coach since 1969, which again is remarkable. McCarthy must once again navigate the uncertainty surrounding a legendary quarterback's plans. This time, of course, Roger is the one responsible for the melodrama, albeit a far tamer manifestation of it than the madness Favre generated in his final days in Green Bay. Then again, there's another important difference between the summer of Favre and the second consecutive A-Rod spring. In 2008, the Packers had a viable fallback plan, a willingness to hand the ball to a former first-round draft pick who had spent 3 years developing into an heir apparent. The 2026 Steelers, not so much. They're praying Rodgers, who will turn 43 this season, will get back into the ring to take another swing. Otherwise, at least on paper, they don't seem to have a puncher's chance of getting back to the playoffs. And that right there, guys, and like I said, I'll have the link in the description box of the video. I implore you guys to check out Mike Silver's article in The Athletic. But that essentially right there is the crux of the problem. When you're saying that, hey, listen, we are heavily reliant and dependent on Aaron Rodgers. Without Aaron Rodgers, we are going to suck ass. We have no fallback plan. We haven't had a fallback plan now since Ben Roethlisberger's been gone, which is quite astounding when you think about it, because, again, I'm not saying that Ben Roethlisberger was a bum. He wasn't. I mean, clearly, he was obviously one of the great Steelers quarterbacks. He was a tough SOB. Definitely knew how to take hits, knew how to extend the play. But I argued that though he was beat, though he was worn down, he was still a viable playoff quarterback, could win 10, 11 games, get you to the postseason, not do anything, but still get there. The fact that they have, it has been since, let's see, 2020, 2021, and they have not had a viable fallback option, it just speaks to the ineptitude and the dysfunction that the Pittsburgh Steelers have been exuding now for several years. I mean, let's just look at the stats. Here via Pro Football Reference, Aaron Rodgers, 16 games, usually averages 12. He played 16, 10-6 as the starter last year. His completion percentage at 65%. 24 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Again, not bad, but then when you start, looking into the raw numbers and you start breaking it down, again, you're talking about a guy who really made a lot of safe throws. If we're looking at the yards per attempt here, again, it went up. It went up from the past couple years. It was at 7.7 a couple years ago in Green Bay, 6.8. He's been hovering around 6.8, 7.0 since the Jets. So again, not great, but not outstanding as well. Also, too, yards per catch. He's literally throwing for within 10 yards. His arm no longer has the pop. So again, we're talking about a guy who at once was a Hall of Famer. I mean, still a Hall of Famer, but once was an NFL MVP, multiple-time MVP, one of the greatest quarterbacks and athletes of my generation. I mean, it's over. It's over. I mean, I clearly can see it. But for some reason, the Pittsburgh Steelers believe that they can continue to do this dumb shit where it's like, you know what? We can get this guy to stay here. He's going to continue to play at a high level. Even though it's technically his mediocre level, we're going to get him to play at a high level. And as long as we can just stem the tide with him, we should be fine. We shouldn't have any issues, and we'll just be able to find a quarterback within the next couple of years. I don't think they realized that was your plan the past, 3 or 4 years. And you're still doubling down on getting more veterans. I mean, the moves they made this offseason, getting Jamel Dean, re-signing Jalen Ramsey, that doesn't seem like, to me, a team that's like, you know what, we really honestly need to get younger and really address the youth on this roster. Seems like a team like me that's like, you know what, we still got a veteran quarterback, we still got an old team, we still believe we got a shot. I don't know. We don't know what the TJ Watt situation is looking like as far as his health. Cam Hayward, obviously wily old veteran, still putting in work, but these guys are getting older. So I don't know what the hell is going on. I don't know how this is all going to shake out for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but they really need to address issues and really need to address the fact that they're really now a dysfunctional franchise. They are a dysfunctional team. They have been dysfunctional for a while, and it's showing more and more with the decision-making that they're using, or the lack of conscious decision-making that they're using regarding the handling of the Aaron Rodgers situation. Next thing that I definitely want to get into is the schedule leak news, and we're going to go to profootballtalk.com there for that. Just give me 1 second here, guys. I'll pull it up for you. And let's see here. And as we pull it up, and you guys will see that here on the screen, the NFL announced the full slate of 2026 international games, which I thought was amazing. Finally kind of got that information out of the way, so you kind of know where your team's headed. The Eagles obviously were on that list. Thank God, not multiple times, just once. But nonetheless, the list has been announced. Are you guys looking here on the screen? You see it. I'll be announcing it shortly. Crazy. Let's see. First, week 1, you got 49ers and Rams, first ever game in Melbourne, Australia, which I think is just batty as shit as far as scheduling, the time zones, all of that. I mean, just hell. I don't know. That's going to be a crazy game, and that might alter the beginning of the season for whoever loses that game or wins. So, be that as it may, we'll see how that all plays out. Also, too, in week 1, the Ravens and Cowboys are going to be, week 3, Ravens and Cowboys will be heading to Brazil to play in Rio. We also be having after that it will follow, there will be 3 straight weeks of games in London kicking off. Colts will face the Commanders in week 4. Eagles will play the Jaguars in the same place the following week. And then in week 6, the Jaguars will take on the Texans in Wembley. So that'll take care of the stretch of London games. Then from there, we'll be on to Paris for the first time in league history, which again, this whole international movement, this is something they've been really fucking pressing the envelope on. The Steelers will battle the Saints at Stade de France in week 7. The Bengals and Falcons matchup in Madrid in week 9 was announced earlier this week, although it will be followed by a Patriots-Lions clash at Allianz Arena in Munich the next weekend. And then obviously NFL will return to Mexico City, will be in week 11 with the Vikings and 49ers as they square off on Sunday Night Football. This is obviously something that the NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell has been pushing for a while now. He has been emphatic about making sure the game has had international style of play, making sure they're reaching international markets. I mean, the NFL is obviously the juggernaut in America. America has already been conquered. It's time now to go, eastward or westward. And I guess in their sense of direction, they're going both fucking ways. So the reality of the situation is, I think they have to worry about proliferation. They have to worry about overconsumption at some point because, in all honesty, the game is perfect right now. It's more popular than ever. So I understand them making the move and everything and why they're doing this. However, I do admit the one thing, the aspect that the average fan probably doesn't take into account, that I know for a fact the team and the football players take into account, is the travel is a bitch. The travel is a bitch. I mean, atypically now, because teams have been doing it for years and teams have gotten accustomed to it, you kind of, it makes sense for you, like right after you finish that. Let's say, for instance, hypothetically speaking, the Eagles have a Sunday game. They play Sunday, they play the Texans. They know the following week they have to go play the Jaguars. Okay, well, if they know Sunday, 1 o'clock game, well, let's be realistic. That'd be probably a 4:25 game. That's a 4:25 game. Realistically speaking, by Tuesday, if not Monday, you should be making that move to, London or Madrid or Australia, wherever the games are being played, because you now know what the time zones and the practice schedules and getting everybody acquainted and allocated. It's going to take a little bit. Then you still have to implement a game plan. Then on top of it, it's the sightseeing, it's the media circus that comes with it. It's getting some sense of familiarity. It's just a lot. It's a lot of change, a lot to go on, and a lot to happen just to make the game even more popular, just to kind of expose a bigger fan base abroad. And shout out to my UK fans and shout out to my fans out there in the Middle East and in the South Pacific. But, again, making sure the game is global, that's ultimately the goal point and the focus for the NFL, and they're doing it. They're moving close to the goal, so I got to give them credit for that. It's going to be interesting to see how some more of this stuff plays out. But yeah, NFL definitely is going to be moving to a full slate of games. International, not sure how a lot of you guys feel about it. Definitely leave a comment in the chat. I have something posted on blunttalksports.net as well, where you guys can leave a viewpoint and opinions about all these international games and how do you feel about it. I think it's probably a bit disastrous, but that's just my personal opinion, but we will see. Staying here on ProFootballTalk.com, one other article I definitely wanted to touch on by the great Shereen Williams, who does a lot of beat writing for the Dallas Cowboys. Right now, George Pickens, and it's interesting because recently there was news that came out about George Pickens accepting his franchise tag tender, which I'll touch on that and why I think he took the deal in a second. But there was a lot of consternation and speculation going into the beginning of this month that George Pickens wasn't going to be at camp. This was possibly going to be an issue because ultimately George Pickens wants a long-term contract. Now, he accepted the tender, got the tender, everything was good in Cowboys country, everything was great. Well, then today, he didn't show up for practice, the voluntary workout. Now, again, emphasis on voluntary, but we know how the NFL is about voluntary. If it says voluntary, it really means mandatory, and if it's mandatory, it's mandatory. So the shit doesn't stop. I mean, this is a consistent thing. We know how this works. So, and within the article here, Vasharim Williams says, Cowboys wide receiver George Pickens signed his franchise tag on April 29th, and Executive Vice President Stephen Jones said soon after the team expected Pickens to show up for voluntary work. Monday was the first team workout for the Cowboys since Pickens signed a one-year, $27.3 million deal, which is vastly underpaid compared to the top receivers in the market. But it's a franchise tag. It's obviously the top 10 salaries. We've been through this before, but that's what it is. But it goes on to further say, and Nick Harris of the Fort Worth Star-Telegram reports that Pickens was not present. Nothing is mandatory until June 16th, so we'll definitely have to keep an eye out for that. So he can stay away until then without being fined. I think that's what he's going to do. I think he's going to stay away until he has to be there. He wouldn't have accepted the tender if he was going to be willing to risk losing money. It just wouldn't make any sense. I don't think David Mulgeta is a great agent and been in the position he's in for happenstance. So I don't think he would advise him to do that. So it kind of makes sense there. It said the Cowboys announced they will not negotiate a long-term deal with Pickens this offseason, and Jones has repeatedly said that the team has zero interest in trading Pickens. So he had a phenomenal year last year, 137 targets, 93 catches, 1,429 receiving yards, 8 touchdowns. So again, Pickens had a great year. It's really going to boil down to what I think it was he knew with the way things played out in Pittsburgh, with the burning of his name, the besmirching of his character, for lack of better words, he knew already that he had to play ball. He had to play fucking nice, because if he didn't, he wasn't going to get that long-term deal. They were just going to keep giving him, sucker, prove-it deals, and he was just going to have to keep playing on that until, somebody, was desperate enough to take a risk on him. Anybody knows within this day and age, the one thing we all need is financial security. So I don't blame George Pickens for accepting the tender, and I don't blame him for not being at the voluntary workouts. I don't think with the resume that he showed last year, 1 year in that offense, I don't think the voluntary workouts are really something that's really going to hinder him from being at his best. What I do think will hinder him from being at his best is that the fact that they've been adamant he's not getting this deal this year and he's not getting the deal throughout the offseason. If he has any slip in play, if his production for any reason does not tick back up or shoots back down a little bit for any reason, you can rest assured the Cowboys are going to positively use that against him within the bargaining tactics to ensure that he doesn't leave. Because make no mistake, they have, with the way that Pickens exploded in the Schottenheimer offense and finally playing with a quarterback like Dak Prescott, his talents were finally exposed, his numbers. What up, world? Want to stay connected to the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast, aren't able to always catch all the shows and media and always trying to figure out what episode is dropping? No need to worry. Check out blunttalksports.net, the official website for the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast, for everything related to the show. Keys, links in the description box of this video. Keys to all the videos, exclusive content, behind the scenes content, whatever you need will be there and be located there. Definitely check it out, blunttalksports.net. Thank you. As always, love you and have a great day. Looking for quick and unlimited access to the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast? Well, look no further than on Apple Podcasts. Listen to the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast on Apple Podcasts. QR code is available for quick access to the channel. Also, check us out on Spotify as well. Thanks. Have a great day. Really realizes, though, he's not dumb. He realizes that how the situation's been played, so he's going to have to play for his supper. I think that the way Dallas has handled it, they've handled this situation as they always do. So ultimately, it's going to come down to Pickens playing ball. I think David Mulgeta is going to make sure that he's protected and situated. But ultimately, if he has any type of slippage in play, I think that Dallas is going to hold that against him. Will they franchise tag him a second time? That's something to consider and think about. Will they try other tactics and other means? I mean, essentially, the franchise tag is the only real weapon of choice that they have. But there are other means that they could use to try to make sure that he stays there. So again, George Pickens knows that it's Dallas or bust. And the way Dallas is going is possibly going to be bust, but we shall see. Keep an eye on CeeDee Lamb knowing the future of him, because I definitely think with the way things are playing out, CeeDee Lamb might not be long for the Dallas Cowboys within the next year or so. All right, guys, so we're going to go a little bit further here. We're going to go on back to The Athletic. I have an article here that I definitely wanted to dive into with you guys. We're going to talk about the scheduling, some of the other scheduling things for you Cowboys fans out there. Cowboys got a crazy schedule this year, a lot of primetime games as usual. As you guys will see here on the screen, they will play the Giants in week 1 on Sunday Night Football and host my Philadelphia Eagles on Thanksgiving. Game that has not actually, I think there has been an Eagles, if I'm correct, there hasn't been an Eagles-Cowboys Thanksgiving game in over 10 years, I want to say. I'll pull that up for you guys in a second so that way you'll see it. But nonetheless, the schedule makers are always favorable to the Cowboys. I've always seen to want to put these guys on primetime spots. You know, it's like putting the fucked up cousin or drunk uncle who always winds up being in charge of a dish or being in charge of some task around the holidays, or being just, you know, being over the house in general. And just always, you know, causing shit to go left. So they always seem to have the instance of want to put these people on primetime television, which is just, it fucking baffles me. I really don't understand how in the world, in God's green earth, how you want to sit there and watch this team mediocrity and just, you know, year in and year out, you know, the roller coaster ride that is just them looking great throughout the early part of the regular season and them crashing and burning. I guess it's must-see TV. I mean, for me, at some point, you know, you just kind of go null and void to it. You know, you just go numb. But for Cowboys fans, I guess, you know, it's a great thing. But nonetheless, like I said, Eagles and Cowboys, they'll definitely renew their rivalry. First time since 2014 that this game has happened. So this is going to definitely be exciting. Definitely something to look forward to. Dallas, again, the NFL knows. They got a huge fan base. They got a huge calling. This does not shock me. Again, schedules make the most sense. Now we're looking a little bit further here. Now, what I thought was very interesting about one of the other things in the schedule was when you talk about the fact that they have the Bills playing the Lions week 2, Thursday Night Football, opening up their new stadium. I'm not shocked by this, but I will say I was under the impression that maybe week 1 they would allow them to open up the stadium, but Lions are going into, you know, a fucking hornet's nest week 2. You know, Thursday Night Football, which again, short week. We'll see how that all plays out for the Lions. But the Lions' schedule is not as tough as most years. They have a pretty favorable schedule this year, so we'll see how things play out. That game will be September 17th, so on Thursday Night Football with Amazon Prime, so Prime Video, so definitely make sure you check that out if you have a subscription. If not, NFL Mobile for you guys like me that don't have Amazon Prime. So, again, both teams, again, got aspirations of possibly making the Super Bowl, so we'll see how all that plays out. Going a bit further, looking at some of the other news and notes that's kind of happened in the world of sports, I definitely wanted to touch on this other thing. Inside Jesse Minter's whirlwind Ravens start, this is via The Athletic. It says, red eyes, family time, and a dream job. You know, and he just pretty much is by Jeff Zerbiak. He pretty much curtails and does a great deep dive into the daily regimen of Jesse Minter and what it is that he's doing to prepare, you know, for the Ravens for the season, and to just immerse himself in what it is, you know, quote here, Monday through Friday, I'm in it. I'm working every day, all day. Then you have these little mental breaks Saturday and Sunday. You get to see your family. You're out in California where you have good weather. That part of it honestly helped, rather than, hey, I'm taking this job and I'm not coming back. That helped me go through the process, but it's been a whirlwind to say the least. So it's been a lot on this young man, obviously. New journey, being an understudy of Jim Harbaugh and being his defensive coordinator at Michigan and with the San Diego Chargers. Oh, caught myself. Los Angeles Chargers, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, Los Angeles Chargers. You know, he's finally getting his chance. He just turned 43 years old last week. You know, he got hired back in January. This is a crucial hire for the Baltimore Ravens. Getting rid of Jim Harbaugh, John Harbaugh, getting rid of Jim Harbaugh's brother John, and him being jettisoned out and going to the New York Giants. This is going to be a pivotal season for Jesse Minter. I think that, needless to say, they're going to have to hit the ground running. The Ravens cannot, for any stretch of the imagination, fuck up as they did last year. All hell is going to break loose. Then the questions of will Lamar want to stay long-term will then be something that will be prescient and need to be addressed. So I think Jesse Minter is possibly the right guy for the job. I think he could definitely help revitalize that defense. Not getting Max Crosby definitely didn't help. So I think that definitely is, you know, sucked for him. But right now, the main thing I think for Jesse Minter is just, keeping a level head, keeping, himself together, making sure that he's got the guys around him that he needs to really help him hone in and focus and do the job at the level that he's been hired to do. I mean, again, just to give you some guys that he has in his staff here. Navy defensive coordinator PJ Volker, one of his best friends. Funny enough, he introduced Minter to his future wife. Of course, he wanted him on the staff. There was obviously going to be a spot for Jesse Minter's father, Rick Minter, a former college coach and defensive analyst for the Chargers. Minter's hires for defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver and special teams coordinator Anthony Levine Sr. were both former Ravens assistants and players assistants. So you get the gist. He kept it in the family. Continuity is definitely something you need, especially when you're making a new journey, a new trek like this. And it goes on, last but not least, say, however, Minter and DaCosta coveted having a diverse staff, and it was not like Minter had an extensive coaching tree or past coaching searches to fall back on. He learned quickly that just because the Ravens wanted a candidate, it didn't mean the team was going to be willing to let that candidate out of his contract. So a lot of new things to address. The key for them really for Baltimore is, can they really put it all together for Lamar Jackson to finally at least make a Super Bowl berth? Same questions for, Josh Allen as well in Buffalo. Can they do enough for this team to make the Super Bowl? The Ravens have always had the talent. It just seems like ineptitude and incompetency and just bad, inconsistent football has been the main thing that stopped them. We'll see how all of this plays out. As always, I would just implore you to tell you, like always, just sit and watch and enjoy the ride, because honest to God truth, Jesse Minter is going to have a lot of questions to answer, first-year coach. I think he'll come in with a hot buzz. I think he'll come in with some of that energy, having the veteran experience in his ear. I think that'll help. But the true test for him will be getting the team to the postseason and how far they can go. As always, I love you guys for plugging in. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Check out the links in the description box for the videos for StubHub, Viagogo. You guys have seen it throughout the video. It's popped up here on the screen, some of the tour dates, the creative ID links. Don't forget to check that out. More of it will be located again on blunttalksports.net. Don't forget to check it out. The #1 podcast website in the world, the blunttalksports.net, blunttalksports.net. Don't forget to check that out. There will be another episode coming at this weekend, so I implore you guys to check that out. Check out some of the other videos that I've also posted over the past couple of days. I love you guys for always plugging in. Take care and enjoy the rest of your week.